So God picked his way, and his way is the chosen salvation of I am that I am. The creator of all things made a plan and said this is the way it is. And if you do it this way, all those laws I told you, I'll forgive them. And then believe on my Son and start abiding in his word and being a branch on the vine. And then the law, you'll start seeing that you'll start doing the laws. More and more. Not because they're laws, but because you're changed. It is a really good plan. And the only way that we'll wake up and know that we need Christ is when we find out that we're all sinners, and no matter how good we were, none are good enough. And you can either be mad at God saying, yeah, this is a test we can't win. And then you find the answer. To declare, I say, at this time, his righteousness, that he may be just, and the justifier of him which believeth in Jesus. Where is boasting then? Where's boasting then? Because what are you going to do to get into heaven? You can do all the works in the world. You can pass every single law, but you missed one. You got a 99.99999% chance on, or percent on the law test. Fail. You don't get in. Yahweh is Christ. Where is boasting then? It is excluded. By what law? Of works? Nay, but by the law of faith. So now the law is faith. Therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law. 29. Is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not also of the Gentiles? Yes, of the Gentiles also. You know, it's one God for everybody. And these people, a peculiar people, a stiff-necked people, were made to be the example of the world, to show everybody he's real, explain the story. And be the living examples all throughout the world. Be the light that you put up on the table. And you shine to the world. 28. Therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law. 29. Is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not the God of the Gentiles? Is he not also the God of the Gentiles? Yes, of the Gentiles also. 30. Seeing it is one God, which shall justify the circumcision by faith. That's the circumcision of your heart. It's a lot less painful. In one way, just to surrender your life, and then you find your life. Seeing it is one God which shall justify the circumcision by faith and uncircumcision through faith. So whether you're circumcised or not circumcised, you're Jew or Gentile, faith is what makes you pass a test. Do we then make void the law through faith? So now, you know, if it's only about faith, is the law gone? No, Pastor Arnold always called it our schoolmaster. It shows us the way. It gives us the knowledge that's a sin. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yea, we established the law. Like Christ said, he didn't come to get rid of the law, he came to fulfill the law. Alright, we'll go into 4 next. Romans 4. Hello, Raven. Where's my food? Oh, it's right here. Romans 4. What shall we say then that Abraham our father, as pertaining to the flesh, has found? So what does it mean to be from Abraham? For if Abraham were justified by works, he hath whereof to glory, but not before God. So if you're born from Abraham, you don't need to do anything. You already have glory just because you're from Abraham. It's not about God. For what saith the Scripture? Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. He was the one with the most faith, that God said, leave your place and go where I tell you to go. And he did. So why was Abraham righteous? Because of what he did or because of what he believed? In one way, it's both. He believed, and then his faith created the works that God built a whole nation around. For what saith the Scripture? Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Now to him that worketh is the reward, not reckoned of grace, but out of debt. Because once you know you're forgiven and all things are covered, you do feel the debt. You want to do something like I'm doing right, like a lot of people do. You want to go out and serve. You want to go out and serve and pay back. 5. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. So whether you do any works or not, if you believe on the right guy, you're counted righteous. Even as David also describeth the blessedness of man who, verse 6, even as David also describeth the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputeth righteousness without works. So because you believe so much, one day God just imputes all the righteousness into you, and David says, blessed is that guy. It's not because he went to seminary school or he did everything by the book. It was because he believed so much. Like David, the 8th kid, left out in the field. Samuel comes to his house. Where's the one God's telling me to find? By faith, Samuel knew it was in that house. He was in that house, but he wasn't one of the 7s that were brought out. It was David that was out in the field tending to the sheep. Out in the field, working, tending to the sheep. 7. Saying, blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven, and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin. So once you're covered, you're covered. And it's not about how hard you try, it's about how hard you believe. Verse 9. Cometh this blessedness then upon the circumcision only? Upon the uncircumcision also? Or, so does this righteousness that God imputes into people, it comes to the Jew and the Gentile and the Greek, and it comes to the circumcised or the uncircumcised. Cometh this blessedness then upon the circumcision only, or upon the uncircumcision also? For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness. Abraham wasn't circumcised when he was told he was righteous. That started later. How was it then reckoned? When he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision. So God picked him, says, you have the right faith. Later we'll talk about the circumcision thing. That's a good point Paul just made to the Jews. Because if you have to believe and you have to be circumcised according to the law, then Abraham couldn't have been justified. 11. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of faith, which he had yet being uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all them that believe, though they be not circumcised, that righteousness might be imputed to them also. Let's do 11 again. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith which he had yet being uncircumcised. So because his faith was so big, God gave him the circumcision to his people to put on all of his line, to show the faith that was given to the imputed righteousness that was put upon him for his faith. I think we're getting there. So because that's the line, that's the one that has faith, God imputes a righteousness on him, then he put the circumcision on that people as a sign, as an example to the whole world. So, is it because of circumcision or because of not circumcision that he's justified? No. That's just like a seal or a sign on the people. 11. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of faith, which he had yet, the righteousness of faith, which he had. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of faith, which he had, yet being uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all them that believe, through, though they may, that's a hard verse. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of faith, which he had, yet being uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all them that believed, though they be not circumcised, that righteousness might be imputed unto them also. And the father of circumcision to them who are not of the circumcision only, but also walk in the steps of the faith that our father Abraham, which he had being yet uncircumcised. So the true circumcision is the faith. Like being a bondservant, nailing your ear to the wall and saying, giving yourself to your master, which is Yahweh. That's what gets you justified. That's what gets the righteousness. And at this time, everyone is saying, is it circumcision or is it not circumcision? Rules, not rules. And Paul's like taking it to the whole next level. It's not about rules. For the promise that he should be the heir of the word of the world. For the promise, because through his son, he would be the father of many nations. So he was given the sign of the circumcision. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. So even the Jews were justified in the very beginning because of faith, not because of the law. For the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. 14. Finally, for if they which are of the law be heirs, faith is made void, and the promise is made of none effect. Because the law worketh wrath. For where no law is, there is no transgression. 16. Therefore, it is of faith that it might be by grace, to the end. This is like the deepest part to read in like such a short amount of verses. And he's trying to say it in such a hard way. For if they which are of the law be heirs, faith is made void, and the promise made none effect. Because the law worketh wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression. There's no police driving around trying to catch people with the speed limit if there's no speed limit. If there's no law, then there's no sin. 16. Therefore, it is of faith that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all of the seed. Not to that only which is of the law, but to that also which is of faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. I guess he just wants to keep saying over and over and over again, it's not about the law, it's not about the law, it's not about the law. Righteousness is given to you, imputed into you by faith. 17.